Hey, friends, and welcome to Taking Back Happy, the podcast for midlife women who are navigating change with faith, purpose, and a whole lot of grace. Today, we're talking about something that kind of sneaks into almost every area of our lives, and that is all or nothing thinking. It's that quiet little lie that says, if I can't do it perfectly, I might as well not do it at all. And let me tell you, this mindset can steal joy. It can shut down our progress. It can keep so many of us stuck in patterns we actually want to break. But the truth is, life doesn't work in all or nothing. Change doesn't work that way. God definitely doesn't work that way. So today we're going to walk through a few simple shifts, practical, biblical, doable, things that help you step out of that kind of rigid mindset and help you step into like a healthier, happier one. We're going to talk about how small steps still count, how God works through process and through progress, not necessarily through perfection, and how the middle is actually where real life happens, and how setting small minimums can free you from perfectionism. Maybe celebrating movement, not mastery, might just be the key to taking back your joy during this season. If you've ever felt like you're either on the wagon or off the wagon, you're either thriving or failing, or you're just doing great or you're doing nothing at all, then this episode is for you. Hi, friends. Welcome to Taking Back Happy. I'm your host, Gina Granville, God's girl, retired homeschool mom of 4, empty nester, Gigi, essential oil and exercise enthusiast, Christian life coach, and someone who is taking back her own happy. I know many of you feel exactly like I do in these midlife years, wondering if your best days are behind you, but feeling way too young and vibrant to sit on the porch and just watch life go by. What if you could replace negative thoughts with curiosity and possibility, renewing your mind, faith, joy, passion, purpose, and adventure in this season? If you're ready for a little mindset coaching as you navigate change, then throw on those walking shoes, pop in those earbuds, and join me right here as we take back happy together. Hey friends, are you loving the Taking Back Happy podcast and you just really want to connect with other women who are in this midlife stage and they just, they really are being purposeful and taking back their happy? Then come on over to Facebook. I have a Taking Back Happy Facebook group. If you want to go a little deeper than that, you can become a TBH Insider, Taking Back Happy Insider. When you become an insider, you get free weekly emails with the latest podcast. You get tips on creating a happy mindset. You get any of the early bird access to special offers, and you get encouraging Bible devos. So let's get into today's topic. I have been really struggling over at least the last month, probably the last 2 months. It's just been really hard for me. I kind of have been getting in this all or nothing mindset. My mom ended up going into an assisted living. So that's been kind of a big ordeal. Even before she went in, we were trying to look for the right place. We were searching. We were trying to figure out a place that she could go and she could take her dog. And then it ended up she wasn't able to take her dog because she wasn't physically able to walk him while she was on a walker. So I've been taking care of him. And, my work schedule's picked up and it's just been hectic moving into the holidays and all that. And I'm in a course that's called Podcast to Profit. And so it's just a neat course that helps you like do all the things with your podcast and learn new things and be able to connect with more people and do things like that. And I just literally, I was working through it. Everything was going well. And I literally just put the brakes on this month. And it was kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, I don't have as much time. So instead of, I don't have as much time, so I just do a little bit less, I kind of got this all or nothing mindset where I was like, I don't have enough time. And so I just kind of like set it aside. And I didn't set it aside for a day. I set it aside for weeks. And I was like, what are you doing? And every time I thought about doing it, I was like, oh, well, I got to do this and this and this. And it is true. There was a lot of things I did have to do, but there was no reason that I couldn't have been doing both. And it was the same thing for this Bible study I'm doing. I was doing like a daily Bible study. I forget what it's called. It's called something. I do it with my friends, and it was the first time I've ever done it. And it was like, if you start it in September, you should be able to be completely done with the whole New Testament. I think by the end of the year. I think that was the goal. Anyway, I was like doing so good with it. And every day you read like a couple chapters and they tell you exactly what to read. And so it would tell you, read chapter Matthew 13 and John, and you would do that. And so every day it builds on itself. Well, one time I got behind a couple days and I was like, oh no, I am not going to do that again. That was ridiculous. And then when all this last month happened and everything was really chaotic, I got really far behind. And so my first thing was like, forget it. I'll just go back and do my Bible devotion. I have a book that I do and I can do this another time. And then I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be all or nothing. I can just kind of keep at it at a kind of, I put air quotes, a behind pace, right? I can like catch up. I may not be able to catch up, but I can just kind of keep trucking along at it. So I've been trying to do that, but in reality, I have just done very little with it. So again, it's kind of like that all or nothing thinking. If I can't do this all the way, well, I'm certainly not going to do it. And I don't think that attitude, it doesn't help me for one thing. And for another thing, I don't think it really glorifies God either, because I don't see anywhere where God is telling us that we have to be all or nothing in any shape or form. We are always a work of progress in his eyes. So the first point would be small steps still count. And guess what? They add up. That all or nothing thinking says if I can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing. But neuroscience shows that consistent small actions create bigger long-term change than occasional perfection. One 10-minute walk, one prayer, one healthy choice, it all builds momentum. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." I love that. God celebrates your small steps, and they matter much more than you think. Which brings us to point number 2. God works through process, not perfection. Can I get an amen? This makes me think of life coaching, because a lot of times in life coaching, it's not like, okay, you just have this one and done. Like you just have this amazing thought. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you have an amazing thought and that's it. But it's really a transformation over time. It's where you're like kind of training yourself to take your thoughts captive and then deciding the life you want to have and then working toward that one step at a time. And you're not going to do it perfectly. There's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be like, I did that same thing again that I didn't want to do. And that's okay. But it's just recognizing it and putting it at the front of your mind. So you're like, oh, okay, I just screwed that up, but I realized I screwed that up. And I feel like there's a lot of power in that. Scripture reminds us that transformation is ongoing. One of my favorite verses is Philippians 1:6. He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it or carry it out to completion. This verse reminds us that God completes the work over time. When we expect overnight results, we kind of overlook the process, the Holy Spirit's input, his holy process that's happening in our everyday lives. Transformation is a journey, and God finishes what he starts. Point number 3, middle ground is where real life happens. In recent years, I've heard so many people talk about the messy middle. The messy middle is where things really happen. It's where life really, we spend most of our life actually. It's not really at the beginning of something. It's definitely not at the end of something. It's where all, we grow and we change and we transform into the woman that we want to be. It makes me think of hiking. When you start out hiking and you're all like excited and you're like, oh, this is going to be the best trail ever. And ooh, it could be really hard. And I know like my friend and I, Eric and I, we went on this hike and I think it was like a 8-mile hike round trip. And we knew it was going to be pretty challenging. And so everybody that would come up on the trail, we saw them coming back. We'd say, hey, how was it? Did you go up to, I think it was Charlie's Bunyan was the name of it. And we would ask them and they'd say, yeah, well, we made it and it was fun. And so it just kind of like inspired us to keep going. But once we got there and we saw this amazing view, it was just so cool. But when we started back, we were trying to like kind of go kind of sort of fast too, because, literally sun was starting to go down. It was afternoon, and when you're in the mountains, once that sun goes down, you are in a pickle. So on the way back, we kept saying, oh, we should be almost there. Well, we weren't almost there. And it was a pretty strenuous hike, but we just kept at it. And really that's really where the magic happens, because you're out there and you're physically pushing yourself, but you're mentally pushing yourself. It's really mental, because we kept saying, oh, I know around this corner, this looks familiar, but we weren't there. So it's just how you keep going when the end is not in sight. That is what really matters. That's the messy middle. That's the journey. That's the beautiful part of life. All or nothing thinking is rigid, but most of midlife, our relationships, our health, our career changes, our spiritual growth, all those different things live in that in between. If we give ourselves permission to live in that middle space, it's going to really reduce our beating ourselves up, that shame that we feel, and it will literally increase our resilience. Psalm 37, 23 and 24 says, the steps of a good person are ordered by the Lord. Though they stumble, they will not fall. God guides our every step, including the messy middle. Number 4, set minimums, not extremes. I was on a group coaching call tonight, and a lady was talking about something that she was wanting to do daily. And she's like, I'm going to do this. She was painting, and she's like, I'm going to paint daily. And this is something that I really want to do. And anyway, she was having trouble keeping up with that, being able to do it every single day. And the coach that was leading the call asked her, she's like, I want you to think about what would be your minimum that you would do per week, that you would count that as a success. So, say you can't do it every day, or you really don't want to do it every day, your schedule is too full. How many days a week would you do it and count it as a success? And right away, the girl said, well, 3 days a week. And so it's like, that just gave us the answer right there. It doesn't have to be that all or nothing. Instead of, I need to overhaul like my whole entire life, maybe create small, like doable minimums. I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day with God, or I'm going to spend 2 minutes, in like thankfulness and gratitude. I'm going to take one drawer in my kitchen, not the whole kitchen, not the whole house, but one drawer, and I'm going to clean that out. I'm going to take a walk daily instead of doing a full workout or heading to the gym. This really breaks the perfectionism cycle that keeps us stuck. Matthew 11, 28 through 30 says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Many times we want to put this really heavy burden on ourselves, but Jesus invites us into like doable, grace-filled living, not pressure and extremes. Which brings me to our last point. We want to celebrate movement, not mastery. What if the win was, did I move forward? As opposed to, did I hit it right on the nail? Did I do it perfectly? Did I hit the bullseye? When we celebrate like progress and movement, then our joy can return, because progress is something that really becomes sustainable. and setbacks lose their power. Like all of a sudden, we don't have to live up to this impossible standard. We can just live up to the standard that we're putting before ourselves. And that's like a little bit every day. I want to move forward a little bit every day, or even like a little bit every month, a little bit every year, whatever we choose. When I was beating myself up about the podcast training, I wasn't celebrating the movement. I wasn't like, oh, yeah, well, I'm still putting a podcast out into the world every week. I'm still doing a weekly email for the TBH Insider that goes along with that. I'm still like recording and putting it out and getting it edited and doing all the things. I was just looking at what I wasn't doing. I am not sitting down and I'm not taking the notes and I'm not sinking the time into it that I was putting into it before. And that just feels so, I don't know, it feels overwhelming and depressing and not really a place that I want to be in. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, let us not grow weary in doing good. For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. And I think that's the key. The key is not doing it perfectly, but not giving up. So the win is that you just keep moving forward. The win is you keep taking the steps. God honors our persistence and our resilience. He honors our stick-to-itiveness. So my Taken Back Happy friends, I want you to remember this. Your life doesn't have to be lived at the extremes. God isn't asking you for perfectionism. He's inviting you into progress. He's inviting you into small, faithful steps that bring peace instead of pressure and joy instead of judgment. You don't have to overhaul your whole life just to move forward. You don't have to fix everything to begin again. You don't have to be all in to actually be growing or show progress. Midlife is a season of transition, but it's also a season of incredible opportunity. It's a chance for us to think differently, to choose differently, and to let God lead us gently and with kindness, one step at a time. So this week, give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to live in the middle, to celebrate the little things, to see God in the process and the journey, not just at the finish line. And friend, remember, you are not behind. You are not failing. You're definitely moving forward, even if it's just one little tiny baby step at a time. And that's how we take back our happy. And another way we take back the happy is we do it in community. So hop on that Facebook group, go ahead, become a TBH Insider. And remember, I'm offering the free 1-hour coaching call to all of the Taking Back Happy fam. So if that's something you think you'd be interested in, hit me up and we'll set up a call today. Until next time, keep on taking back your happy. Remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Baby steps for the win. If this podcast blessed and encouraged you today, I'd love for you to share it with your friends. You can take a screenshot and share it in your stories, but make sure you tag me at Gina Granville so we can connect. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you join my Taking Back Happy Facebook group. I'll meet you back here soon, and we'll continue taking back happy together.